recorded it because I just realized that we didn't have sound, but that's okay. This is our first live stream. We're gonna make mistakes.
Mark.
They can hear us now. I just fixed it. I fixed it now. They should be able to hear it now. There's a delay with the chat, so that we'll make sure. Listen, we're off to a rocky start, okay? We're off to a rocky start. But can you ask for a better hosted intro than that? I just did a... See, look, there you go. Thank you so much. So, our people are here. They're filtering
you just went hard
in.
The paint in that intro, bro. I'm going to give you that. You went fucking hard in the paint just now for no fucking reasons.
No, you recorded it, Juan.
I recorded.
Thank goodness. Fine. Okay, cool. I just went hard in the paint. Everybody saw it. Nobody heard it. If you were wondering, I just did Joe Biden impression. So anyways, here we are on Illuminati Confirmed doing a live stream.
Illuminati Confirmed.
We're going to be coming to you twice a month now from here on out. And we're hopefully going to do every episode live, depending on the guest and the scheduling. We'll hopefully be able to do it here on Tuesdays. Tuesdays will be our night. What do you think about that, Juan, Chris?
Sounds like a plan, bro. It was my idea, so it's fucking awesome.
Dude, there must be something in Florida that makes people just fucking Looney Tunes, dude.
It is. It's the energy field here by the Bermuda. There's a reason the Bermuda Triangle, just the tip, is right off the coast of Florida. If you're not prepared,
that's Florida's like saying, just the tip. That was good. just the tip down there is in the Bermuda Triangle. I heard this the other day. It goes. They thought instead of like off the coast on the East Coast, it might go over to the West Coast or something of Florida.
Mm.
Wait, what are you talking about? The Bermuda Triangle?
The Bermuda Triangle, yeah.
Well, it's off the coast of Miami, but the point being that it puts out a certain type of energy, you feel me? So if you're not prepared, it does give you mental illnesses.
Yeah.
And that's the Florida man. They can't take it. They're just like, they're like Mark at the beginning, like, let's get ready to like 100% all the fucking time, which you can't be 100% all the time, bro.
Hey, do you guys think that Hulk, like the Hulk, was kind of a homunculus, like a Florida type homunculus, like a green one?
Bro, what's with you in the homunculus topic, dude? Are you like, this is you always bring it up. We always go back to the homunculus, dude.
Yeah, we're about to be Homunculus Confirmed, a new podcast.
No reason, you know what I mean? No reason.
Well,
no reason.
I could see that the Hulk kind of could be like a golem or something, or even the
like
thing,
a homunculus that lives inside you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, we all have homunculus that live inside of us.
All right. Well, let's switch gears because the queen died, and she's not our queen.
Homunculus, 100%.
She's not our queen, but she's Chris's queen because Chris was born in her land. You were born on her property, bro. So how do you feel about your queen bee dying? Now the hive is being led by some fucking fat-handed dude named King Charles.
First of all, how dare you? And you might bow down to your queen, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, what'd you say that you were born where, Chris? What?
Yeah, Chris was born in the British territory, dude.
No, it's a U.S. territory.
Oh, you lived in a British territory for some time.
Yep.
Which was where?
Montserrat.
Where's that?
In the Caribbean.
Wow, dude, you're Illuminati confirmed. You're a lizard person. You're the homunculus of the queen, dude.
What?
That should be that should be our new thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like tune in live homunculus.
It's crazy though. I mean, this woman did she did basically kind of like, my question is she ran the world, right? Supposedly, but do you do it? Is it through like business, because a lot of people say, oh, the queen runs the world through America pays tax to her, she owns oil drilling rights and mineral rights and all these things and stuff. And it's maybe East India Corporation, which was the name of the company I was looking for on the last podcast, I couldn't remember. It's maybe they just legitimized and they're in certain business. You remember at the end of Godfather, Immobiliare? Oh, no. You bitches haven't even seen it.
Bro, is that you're that old, dude? You got to remember, me and Mark are in our 20s still, dude. We're not 57.
Yeah, dude.
So the end of The Godfather, you fucking pussy, because you're a fucking bitch if you haven't seen
Hey,
Godfather.
we're live on YouTube, okay? Watch the language.
All right, so you fucking vagina. If you haven't seen it, they get at the end of the strike. they get into business. The mob gets so big that they get into business with the Catholic Church, the Vatican, and it's like that. The company they start is called the Mobiliari.
That's not a conspiracy either. That's real life.
Exactly. I mean, like, Camorra or whatever they're called, and the Sicilians and stuff. It's like, you got to think that shit is pretty, like, I mean, fucking powerful people, like, rub shoulders like anywhere in time and space, right? So, I mean, if you're in like Rome and you're like an ill businessman or like super high up in the church, like, I don't know, maybe you guys are eating the same steak restaurant or some shit, who knows? Maybe you guys are pedophiling the same children, who knows?
Jeez Louise.
Let's not talk about that on
Speaking of which, we got our first Illuminati confirmed story that I want to present to you guys.
Illuminati confirmed.
I'm going to share this in the chat. Juan, you're going to have to screen share it for me so that way the stream can see it, because I can't screen share if I'm also streaming. So you're going to have to screen share this for us, buddy. And yeah, a lot of people have been getting all turned up and mad lately. They putting
we can't show this.
Yes,
dude.
we can. We'll block out the nips, okay? A lot of people have been getting pissed off lately because of the trans agenda, and I, for one, think that it's a little overblown, kind of like this teacher's fake tits. Juan, can you please share the screen?
Hey, shout out to Siren One. Sorry, out of here. Really nasty Lang. Shut the fuck up. Get the fuck out of here.
Juan, what are you doing, Juan?
Gonna just
Ignore that. Share the screen, please.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, this is Illuminati confirmed. What do you expect? We're gonna curse a little bit, okay? All these Christians think that they're gonna come and fucking hang out with this show. Listen, we accept all right? But if you can't hang with the language, go listen to another show. Anyways, so
what do you guys think? We're all Christians. Like,
what do you think of this? What do you think of this, Chris? We got this Canadian high school teacher who I think is being a little bit facetious with this transition. I don't think that this is about their sexuality. I think they're trying to buck the system.
Get out of here with that photo, dude.
I don't want to show it.
Yeah, that's fine. We can show that there. This is a wood shop teacher. This is a wood shop
looks like
teacher.
she's honestly double pregnant.
But the school system can't do anything to stop them. Juan, can you stay on the paragraph so I could actually read it?
I'm sorry. Hold on.
That's all right.
Dude, you know how many students just transferred to that school?
So a male Ontario high school shop teacher has transitioned into a woman who now sports what is presumably the most enormous bust in Canada. Can you scroll past the image you're trying to hide, Juan? It's not a big deal. I've seen this on other YouTube channels. Canadian high school teacher is reported by the feminist outlet. Well, we don't care what they say. But yeah, I don't know. I think this guy is pretty smart. He's trying to expose the, just absolute absurdity that's going on in these schools by leaning into it.
Yikes. If that's smart, dude, count me out.
Speaking of leaning, I wonder how much leaning goes on in class with those huge tits in front of the saw there. You gotta be careful how you're leaning, dude. Look at that.
Those sweater puppies, bro. Where were the teachers like this when I was in school?
Well, it is.
You know what I mean?
It is a guy. This is a guy.
Yo, Juan. Just let him keep talking, dude.
So yeah, I just thought, we should show this. What do you guys think? Is this guy Illuminati confirmed? Do you think he's doing this for the greater good, or is he just another nutcase that's unfortunately teaching children?
Yeah, great trolling activity, dog.
I think he's doing it for the clout, bro.
Maybe
for the clout. He's doing it for the clout, bro. He's like, I'm gonna get a following on Twitter now. I'm gonna start an OnlyFans. I don't know, bro. I think it's.
There's a dude that already did that on Instagram. This guy that's like this crazy skateboarder guy, and he got like block letters tattooed across his forehead, and he's like balding, and he's huge fake tits and stuff. It's crazy, dude. And his account is literally him like talking about smoking meth and like yelling at the camera and stuff. It's like, so I think basically what's happening is like, yeah, some people are just like, they just want attention, and like that's it, you know? And so like, you know, it's understandable obviously, but like they'll go to any lengths to get it, you know, like the whole like Tekashi 6ix9ine shit. It's just like, it's because think about this, dude, like with the internet, think about how big your belly flop has to be for anyone to care. And they're only going to care for fucking one afternoon. You know, generally, right? It's like, I guess some people have made like careers out of it by making it so like abrupt, loud, in your face. Like, but like your high school shop teacher shouldn't get the biggest tits on earth.
The way I see it is, listen, you can worship Cthulhu for all I care. You can put whatever, you can insert whatever you want in your own body. My whole thing is keep the kids out of it. So I don't want my kid going to school, and obviously he's not going to learn anything focused on those big old titties like that because
you can't even see what's on the desk.
So I say I respect anybody's decision to do whatever they want to do. If they want to, again, do whatever, just don't push it upon the children and don't push it upon anybody else. And as long as you don't hurt yourself or others, hey, you know, get the biggest titties you could fit anywhere.
Well,
you know what I mean?
And people listening are like, what the hell does this have to do with the Illuminati? Well, hang with us here, folks.
There's an agenda here to break up the what they say, the family structure.
The nuclear family, yeah.
Nuclear family.
Right.
Who knows?
It's a distraction. It's a distraction from what's really going on, which is processing plants being burnt down, ranches being bought up, ranchers being taken out of business because of federal regulations that make no sense and have no scientific or practical sound reasoning. They're just putting them in place to nix the competition, get the small guy out. That's why Bill Gates is buying up all this land. So, you know, as much as I'm like, oh yeah, let's learn about who the Illuminati is and what kind of rituals they're doing, there's this turn of the coin of like, well, what are we going to do about it? And I think the most important thing we can do is recognize that they're putting our attention here like a sleight of hand trick so we're not focusing on what they're doing with their other hand. And what they're doing with their other hand is
fondling themselves,
buying up all the property. And so that's what we need to be doing. We need to come together, get an Illuminati confirmed compound. Okay.
Illuminati confirmed.
We'll farm, we'll ranch, and we'll invite people to join the Illuminati at our ranch. And then Bill Gates, you know, he'll be our competitor at that point, and we'll just put him out of business because we'll sell the best beef.
Meanwhile, he sends drones packed with explosives over to our houses.
I'm just thinking of solutions, Chris. You could sit there and be a naysayer all day.
Sounds like a terrible fucking idea.
We're coming up with solutions here.
You know what kind of lizards would join that? They're like, it's a great idea. Like, no, the wrong people are here.
You know what I've always wondered, dude? When they're coming up with all these policies and all these
Look
things,
at Mark's face. Dude.
do they actually sit in a room and with their lizard friends and they just like, what do? They lick their eyeballs like, let's put that in there. Yeah, go ahead and put that. It's like how Eddie Bravo talks about. It's like the guy that came up with the food, not just a food shortage, a baby food shortage. That guy got like a gold medal that day. You think that they sit around in this in a circle, bro? You know what I mean? And come up with like the craziest, most devious ways to mess with humanity and the population and all this stuff. Like, you think they do that, bro?
Hey, you know when you're a little kid and you're at school and you do real good, they give you a gold star? And then you know if you go high enough up into the military rankings, you get a gold star. It's weird, man. It's almost like, yeah, you think it's like this kind of weird pre-programming to like, you know, I mean, it could be a good little boy, follow orders, shit like that.
I think you're onto something. What if it's what Crowley said, bro? We're all stars. And imagine when you get to that highest point, you become a star. But then that wouldn't work because space is is fake and gay. So I don't know.
Rock stars are the highest form of human, though, if you think about it. My buddy wrote this little like diagram of power, and it for this magazine like 15 years ago. Shout out to Nick Lipton and
shout out to Nick Nipton.
Yeah, Nick Nipton. Shout out.
And he said, think about it, because you got the rock stars. Like, well, there's like athletes. I guess there's different divisions of athletes where you might, like, if you're a quarterback, it's one thing, but the highest of high of all these things is like surfing's pretty high, dude. You can make mad money. You travel around. You got best looking women on planet Earth. They're always at a beat, right? The highest of high, F1 race, highest of high, Elon Musk, the highest of high, rock stars.
Do you think they have women like the one that we just saw?
I think they throw away women like that on Tuesday.
Take old biddies like that.
Yeah, and and keep them sometimes too, because I bet they get weird. You know what I'm saying?
I think you're just straight up wrong, dude. You're just wrong. Like that. Nick Nipton, you're wrong, brother. Shout out to you, but you're wrong.
How dare you? You haven't seen the diagram.
Yo, hit him up right now, bro. Let's get him on Illuminati Confirm right now.
Second of all, tell me what's higher than Rockstar in the food chain of being awesome.
Obviously, Bill Gates.
Obviously, that guy sucks babies' dicks. Fuck that guy. What else?
I didn't know we were measuring this based on awesomeness.
Yes, dude. That's what life is.
Oh, well, in that case, I still wouldn't go with rock stars at the top. But
make somebody better. Elon?
You said power. You didn't say awesomeness. I don't think rock stars have power over... Bro, if a rock star goes to Saudi Arabia with a joint in his pocket, they'll behead him the next day. That's not power.
Why would you want to go there, though? They don't have a lot of
I'm just saying, there are places on the planet where you ain't shit, no matter how many little, fans you have.
They fly over those places. Like, it's like, those are like those states you fly over. Fuck those states,
Right. Well,
they just take up space. They take up space on the map. Like, fuck. Like, Idaho, bro. Idaho.
Dare you? Idaho's dope.
Oh my gosh.
South and North. Now I'm not gonna start talking trash about the states, but like North Dakota, who goes there, bro? Do you know anybody who lives there?
Nah.
Or South Dakota? Anybody in the chat from South Dakota? Like, I need to know.
South Dakota though.
Yeah.
There's people who listen to the show in South Dakota. Shout out to the people out in the South Dakota area.
Fuck yeah, dude. And also Montana. What's good?
Oh, Montana's beautiful. I've seen Montana.
Yeah. And Idaho's dope too, dude.
Well,
all kinds of good stuff there. You know what I mean?
That's why we need to get the funds together to get our own ranch. South Dakota maybe could be a place. They were very cool over the past few years as far as laws and regulations go. But how are we going to raise the money? What do you guys think?
This is it, dude. You know what monks used to do? They used to make booze, or they'd make like balsamic, or they make like, you know what I mean? They have a product. They make honey. Obviously they don't make the honey, but collect it, sell it, whatever. But that's what you do. You have you got to hustle. Your monastery's got to have a hustle. You know what I mean?
We don't have the monastery yet. We need to raise the funds to get to the monastery. So how are we going to do that?
We need concrete money. We got to get money for concrete.
You guys do not have a family, right? You guys are talking all this stuff because you don't have a family. But I have a family.
Your family, what are you talking about? Your family's going to be there. Like, you think we're just going to make you leave your family? You're going to bring them with you.
I'm not starting a cult with you guys. I'm sorry.
What do you think this whole podcast was like? We're 15 episodes in. You can't give up on it now.
No, that's fine. I'm sticking with the podcast. But as far as getting a cult together,
you're a quitter, dude.
Juan, you literally said when we started this podcast, you were like, Mark, your podcast has a cult-like following. How'd you do it? And I was like, I'll show you. Let's do it. Let's do it. No, I hope people think for themselves and don't just take what we say on the show as fact, because a lot of the stuff we talk about on this show is sort of filtered through what's funny and what's interesting. We're not always like trying to be know-it-alls on this show, which I think is refreshing when it comes to this type of content. But anyways, you are sort of a homunculologist now, Juan. Have you made any headway in the field? Any updates in that research? What's new?
I'm actually writing my thesis now to submit it. So hopefully I can get a position somewhere,
Right.
a position of respect, so I can teach the subject. It is a new and rising field, and I think people need to be shown the topic, because I think some people in society, these rock stars that Mr. Proser here is talking about, are byproducts. I think they are homunculus, bro. And I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. So
wait, is Keith Richards a homunculus, dude?
I don't know, bro. A lot of these child actors.
Okay, I see where you're going. Like Britney, maybe.
Well, how would that work? How would that work? So that they're a vessel, and then some ritual happens, and then they become more like a robot. You know, like they're still a human being, but they're kind of programmed.
No, it's a regular baby, except it's made through magical means, through a ritual,
So like a virgin birth.
Depends on
like immaculate conception.
Depends. Remember that book that we mentioned before starting the podcast? Well, read that book, and it's about that. So I don't want to say the name. Don't say the name, because there's people listening, literally. So
what? You didn't mention any book before we got started.
Yes, I asked you about a certain book that you have that is about that subject.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I almost just said it. I almost just said it.
There's people listening who will comment things.
People know. People can go and look up Tracy Twyman. That's all we'll say.
You said it. Now he's gonna start commenting on the fucking comments, bro.
Well, I didn't even say it long enough. Okay, you're talking like I have a T-shirt with their name on it. All right, relax. Anyways,
Tracy Chapman. How about that?
Wow, I'm glad you're where you're at, Chris. Anyways, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry. It's not just going to be us three knuckleheads for the next 2 hours. We do have guests, okay, with interesting things that they're planning on talking to us about, we hope. So don't be disappointed by our first live stream. We're going to be bringing you the heat, okay, covering the news, the action, the stories, the theories, the homunculus updates, okay? We're going deep, homeboy. Anyways. Yes.
Hold on. I'm getting a thought here, dude. What if Nicolas Cage is a homunculus, dude?
No, he's even possible. He makes the homunculi. He's the alchemist. Yes,
dude.
Yeah, he's the alchemist.
But I'm saying, though, how many could it go back? Turtles all the way down.
Well, listen. If
you know what I mean, though.
No, but here's the thing. Listen, because it's a child born out of a magical mean to serve a magical purpose. So essentially, anybody who you see in the right, because we all talk about Beyonce and Jay-Z, right, and all this stuff with the Illuminati and stuff like that. Well, what if those people are put there just for one purpose, to harvest your energy? That's their magical purpose, to harvest your energy. They are there. They captivate people, millions and billions of people's attention, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Who doesn't know about Beyonce? Who doesn't? And she's even said it that she, while on stage, gets taken over by an alter ego. So she is a vessel of some sort.
So she's channeling an entity as she's performing.
100%, bro. She's even said that in interviews, dude.
That's not
yeah, but this is the thing that I get really bent up about. It's like what people don't understand about the Illuminati, and when we research this stuff and talk about it, we're not talking about this so that you can be afraid and run away and avoid this stuff. We're talking about this stuff so that you can go out and be the next Beyonce. But instead of, listen, no, for real, but instead of wasting your divine energy and channeling abilities by channeling demons and dark shit and causing problems for people, and, you know, I don't want to speak bad on Beyonce. I don't think she's the worst, but she's definitely weird. But you get what I'm saying. Like, all of these things are tools. They're neutral. It's just bad people for most of history have used these occult, esoteric techniques for bad reasons. So we've associated that with negative or evil, when really it's like a tool. You know, a sword could be used to defend yourself just as easily as it could be used to hurt somebody. Same thing with a gun or any other tool. So this is what we're talking about here. I just think like there's probably some 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old kid out there who's got the creative potential to become the next huge artist. And if they get the right information, things like this, they believe in themselves, they can do that. Our society overall teaches people to look outside of themselves for a solution, not inside. You know, people don't internalize. And that fear response that we were talking about before, it's the same thing. It's the same mechanism. It's an externalization. The bad things aren't happening here in me. They're happening all over. No. The bad thing is happening to you when you're afraid because you're expressing A, ignorance, and B, fear instead of love. And that's what we're all here to do. We're here to love, baby. So cheers, drink to that. Everybody in the audience, have a drink.
I think that they see people like that, bro, and they hijack them. They hijack them and they use it for their own.
Yeah, it's so much easier. You just find somebody that's really good at the job and then you like pull up and give them an offer they can't refuse. You guys should see The fucking Godfather. God damn.
I've seen it, Chris, but I saw it when I was like 8 years old or something, dude. I don't remember.
I've been watching that movie at 8 years old, bro.
Shit don't count.
Why couldn't I? Wait, what? I grew up on the East Coast. That was my first, second, third grade education. They would have us watch mob movies.
Yeah.
Street smart class. Anyways, switching topics. We're here in a new world, okay? We were living in a world of, not that, we in the United States are affected that much by this, but, this concept that the queen is merely a symbolic ruler, okay? Let's think about that in terms of what I just said. All right. Some people might hear, oh, you're a symbolic ruler and think that means that they have no real power. No. The opposite is true. We live in a conscious world where symbols are everything. That's what media manipulation is. So when they say the queen is the symbolic ruler, they're actually saying something even more potent than she's even more potent than and it works in that double-edged way where it's tricky. They don't want you to know how influential the queen really is. She doesn't have to snap her fingers and give an order. She's influential energetically, magically, ritually. There was this guy who, I don't put any stock into these theories, but there was this guy a couple years ago that came onto the podcast scene and he was telling everybody that, at night he would go to this weird world in his dreams where they were, taking musicians and they were, writing songs and he was writing songs and all of the world's musicians are like manipulated in the dream world by the queen and like her royal forces.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm like
that in confidence, Mark.
What's that?
That's how they got to Juan.
They were like, that one went right over my head.
You want to catch more fish? Huh?
So I want to read this quote.
You guys are goofballs.
The simulacra. So you're talking about symbols.
The chat gets it. I'm watching the chat. Me and the chat are tapping into each other. I'm 100%. Like a savant right now.
I love what you were saying, Mark, and that's why I always say symbols are the language of the soul. But you have to, how you're saying this facade that it's what is it? The emperor has no clothes or whatever they say. So the simulacra is never what hides the truth. It is truth that hides the fact that there is none. The simulacrum is true. So they talk about how these people, like for example, in the church, when the statue becomes the saint. Well, that's not the actual saint, but a lot of people, they will begin because of the symbol that's been implemented into their psyche will begin to believe that that is the actual saint itself. And they'll begin to worship it. And you see people kissing the feet or touching the feet of the saint because they believe it gives them some sort of magical power. And I do think that I've always wondered, it's like this lady, she died at, what was it? She 98 or something like that. She was super old. And they're just rich for no reason. Like, well, where are they getting all this money from? They're just there for no apparent reason, because a bunch of people agreed on it at one point in time.
Well,
just come together and just that's it. You know what I mean?
Nobody's simplifying it to that level. Let's not placate the dumb. All right. We all understand that there was a shift in the world in the Industrial Revolution. You can maybe point to that time period, maybe earlier, the Renaissance even, when the world started to change and symbols became far easier to spread, right? Because whereas in the past, the mind could only go so far, now we enter a world of printed paper where, the ideas and symbols that people have, in their head can make their way onto paper and then across the world. So that's when the monarchies and the powers that be transitioned from a physical place of the throne to a astral or mental throne, right? They transitioned to sitting on the throne of the mind or the soul, even if they could hope to be so bold. I don't think they can accomplish that. I think they've rested their power on the control of the mind. I don't think they can ever control our souls, but that's enough to keep us ignorant. If they control our minds, they keep us guessing. They can't control what we do with our minds totally, but they can limit them to a large degree. So final thoughts on that before we get our first guest in here.
I think they've already gotten to that point, Mark, where they're able to predict what we're gonna think. That's what all these ads are, that we think, oh, I was just talking about that on my phone. Listen to me. Now I'm getting ads for this particular product. No, it's that the algorithm has gotten that good at predicting your future behavior. So as soon as it predicts that you're going to want this thing, it puts it out and it's like, oh, I was just talking about this. Like, no, it knew you were going to talk about that. There's also that theory.
Well, the world is a reflection of your own thoughts, man.
I mean, that's also, yeah. I mean, you could say that people project their own realities and create their own realities. So
you kind of do, though, to a certain degree. It's pretty fucking obvious. If you want to go live in New York City, you get that ass up, take a plane, land in New York, bitch, you in New York. So there's that, which is like, duh. But then there's like, levels to it for sure.
There's turtles all the way down, homunculus all the way down, bro. Hell yeah.
I'm saying, though, you didn't even let me get through that thought.
I'm sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
What if your job was to be a homunculus, but your job as a homunculus was to be the great granddaddy of the chosen Juan? You know what I'm saying? So you had to just basically behave like a regular person. You had to get a job, pay your bills and shit, find the right lady, get that bitch pregnant, put some morals in there so they keep having babies. You know what I mean? Because you are supposed to be the great granddaddy of the chosen one. You know what I'm saying? Maybe there's a book to pass down or something like that, some special knowledge.
I'm sure there's those too that they're more for texture. You know how Tripley says, is we live in a haunted house and some people are just there for. They're a prop, you know what I mean? And I did a whole episode on NPCs the other day. It's on my feed. Check it out, the One podcast. But I talk about the possibility of people just being some sort of placeholders in this universe, in this timeline. It does
seem like it though, dude, because you can fucking go. I swear to God, you know that 5 degrees of Kevin Bacon shit is real, dude. You can go to fucking Japan and bump into somebody that knows your best friend, dude. It's like, wait, what? How the fuck is that possible?
Right.
And it happens all the time.
Well, I love that we're talking about this. It fits right into what we're about to get into with our next guest. And without further ado, let's get him in here. We're going to be talking about symbolism. We're going to be talking about hip hop. We're going to be getting schooled potentially. Let me read you the message that prompted this interview. So this is from our guest. We're about to talk to him. He has no idea that we're reading this message right now. Bro, just listened to the latest episode of Illuminati Confirmed, and I understand your love for hip-hop, but there's a lot you can learn about what it really is and different intricacies. I've been in the industry for a low time and blackballed to an extent. I've been offered deals before, and I've done leaders, 100+ shows, and I'm a student to the game. Both my parents are from New York and that era. I've been going back and forth my whole life. There's more, but without further ado, let's get our man, the Gravedigger, in here, because he's going to school us Tell us a little bit about what we don't know.
This guy homunculus?
He's not.
You don't know that, dude.
He's
We
not.
don't know that.
I'm gonna make a safe bet that he's not that. He's not a
His
homunculus.
great granddaddy could have been
I
a
don't think I
homunculus.
can hear you.
Uh-oh.
Oh shit!
What's up?
I'm trying to get this audio shit together, bro.
All right. Well, we can wait
this
for
fucking
you.
microphone right here.
Nice.
I might try to do it without the microphone for real. I don't know if you can hear me right
we
now.
could hear you. Yeah, we could hear you. Can you hear us?
Sheesh.
What
I'm
up?
trying to figure this shit out.
Well, while you're figuring it out, we'll be hanging here,
Yeah.
just chilling. Juan?
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly fine now.
Welcome to the show. I'm gonna call you Gravedigger. Is there another name that we can call you?
Oh, that's cool. Really just Gravy. Everybody
Gravy?
call me Grave.
Nice to
Like
meet you, brother.
Grave. Nice to meet you as well. It's an honor, actually. All you guys, for real. Fucking Juan, dog. Like, yeah, that's crazy.
What's up, man?
How are you guys?
We're good.
Very good.
We're good, and if you can't tell, we're live right now. We're already in it, and we wanted to have you on for our first inaugural live stream because we're doing something fun, man. No pressure. We're gonna be doing this every other Tuesday, so we'd love to have you back on again in the future. But today, I want to ask you because you sent me a really cool message. You said, you know, there's some things that we might not be aware of about hip hop and some of the darker aspects potentially of the industry, or maybe some things that we just don't know. So the floor is yours. Let us know. I'd love to learn.
So what made me say that originally is I forgot exactly what you said, but you were responding to somebody about hip hop. I forget the exact episode. This is like a while ago now, but how you described it got me privy to the fact that wasn't the real definition of it. It's just like a personal understanding, which is fine. But it just made me realize that a lot of people probably don't even know that there is a real definition
of hip hop.
And it comes from people who like really put thought into it, you know, like people who really put work in and real just traveling and getting shit done in the name of hip hop. And African Bambaataa was the first person to coin the term hip hop. Hip means to know. It's the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? There's 5 aspects to hip hop. You have graffiti, you have breaking, MCing, DJing, and the last is knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So hip means knowledge, and hop is the movement. Hop is the spreading of that knowledge. Hop is the get up and go. You know, and it's very simple, but that's what it means, you know? And a lot of people there's been a conversation going on nowadays. I don't know if any guys you've seen that, like Busta Rhymes and Fat Joe talking about the roots of hip hop lately.
No.
So Busta Rhymes and Fat Joe, they've been on Drink Champs and a couple of other shows lately talking about just the roots of hip hop and how the roots of hip hop come from Caribbean culture. And that's just totally false, you know. That's just them saying that because they are Caribbean, you know. I think Fat Joe's Cuban and Busta Rhymes is Jamaican, but and I can see why anybody would say that, especially because they're a little older. But if you go back and really do the knowledge, the research, that's not the case at all. Like both of my parents are from that part of the world. My dad's from Newark, New Jersey. My mom's from Brownsville, New York. She was born in 74. You know what I'm saying? My dad was born in 70. So it's like they was right there, you know, when it was happening. And a lot of people think that this hip hop just comes from immigrants bringing a certain sound to New York, and then us not having resources. So we started cutting the records, you know what I'm saying? But I think that, if you're being honest, you got to go back a little further than that. Because in America, we always had this thing, we were like MCing on the radio, melanated people, and Jamaicans actually would come here and then get that from us and then make it their own when they go back to Jamaica. a lot of these sound systems, there's a term for Jamaican DJs and Patois, it's called a sound selector. And basically they had these big sound systems, and this is where like these block parties ideas in the 80s and shit come from Jamaicans doing that. But they got it from us anyways, because they would come here, whereas the army or some kind of slavery, and they would see these sound systems or like radios, just like the 30s and the 40s, you know, they would see these sound systems and they would buy one or finesse one somehow, take it back to Jamaica, then rebuild that same exact sound system out of parts that they just found. Mind you, like, we're real innovative people, especially when you don't have anything. But just the constant trade between New York and different islands, especially Jamaica, of people, caused this idea to be had that, okay, so it must be this Caribbean influence. Well, really, it's the opposite. We influence them, and then they influence us again. It's a shared relationship more so than the creation from the Caribbean.
Yeah, no, it's more complicated than it's just all from the Caribbean or all from New York. There's that interplay,
Absolutely.
there's that interaction that really adds to the creative process. Yeah, man. Wow. So you mentioned your parents being from the East Coast area. Was that a part of your upbringing, like them instilling these values into you and saying like, well, this is, you know, the type of music we like and this is why? Like, has this always been a part of your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So my stepmom is really much to her. She's from Connecticut, actually. You know, I guess what's the area called, New England?
Yeah, New England.
Yeah, so she's from New Haven, I think.
Oh, shout out. Yeah, that's where I'm around. I'm right
Right.
there. Cool. Shout out to your grandma or your
No,
aunt.
it's my stepmother.
Oh,
My dad got
stepmom.
remarried.
I said every
And
type of
yeah,
family member but stepmom. Okay, so your
it's all
stepmom's
good,
from
bro.
New Haven. Shout out to her.
Um, but it was really more her doing, because my mom, she's always been really recluse. She graduated high school at 16. She always really listened to like jazz and reggae, like roots type reggae, not like dance hall, and like just real easygoing music, gospel, you know, like Fred Hammond and shit like that. But my dad, he's like a big house music guy because he's from New Jersey, but he listened to like obviously like older hip hop, like Big Daddy Kane and Kool Moe Dee and shit like that. But really, it's my stepmom who got me privy to the specifics of like where it started, where it came from. Like, hey, this person did this, and this person is related to this person. Like all these specifics. And she's from Connecticut. You know what I'm saying? So it's all the same area. And it's, I don't know, that whole situation led me into some whole other like research and thought processes. Just the same I was telling you in the email, just because learning about the hip hop and like the more spiritual aspects of like putting frequencies together and bringing people together, and like what that does and why it's so effective in every single country right now, like different versions of hip hop, even whether it's a bastardization of it or not. Hip hop is like the most modern spiritual language, I would say. And that's why it's so effective amongst these different countries, like all kinds of people. You don't have to speak the same language. It doesn't matter what color you are or where you come from. It's pervasive across these boundaries, you know?
Yeah, no doubt, man. I agree 100%. I've talked about it on the show. My taste in underground rap enlightened me and got me interested in all of these topics that I then went and bought books about and just kept learning. So, yeah, man, I'm with you there. So are there any sort of aspects of hip hop that you can show as an example of, you know, what builds up this spiritual potency that you can sort of access through hip hop?
Yeah, absolutely. One is, I think hip hop forces you to be creative, or like when you really do hip hop, rather than, because it's not anything you could be classically trained in. You know what I'm saying? It's really soul music. It's just like, it's really like how when jazz came about and all these people are like, oh, what is that? Like, this sounds crazy. What is these triplets and these weird tempos? Like, what is that? It's not all on time, you know? It's the same with hip hop. And I think that shows the spirit, you know? It's like this, there's no form to this. There's no, you have to do it like this or you have to do it like this. It's literally you. So it is different from person to person, but I think that aspect it raises like people's energy in general, like overall. It doesn't matter the type of hip hop it is, but just overall. So it brings people together, and that's the spiritual in itself. Like the Bible says, or Jesus says specifically in the Bible, two or more come together in my name, there I am. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think that's just allegory for people coming together in general with good intention, or bad intention.
Yeah, man. So, and then, you know, we look at hip hop and we look at the history, and we see, you know, sort of the early days. There's more of that inspirational, empowering community aspect to it. And it seems as it's evolved, we get a little less of that. I mean, the internet's changed that to some degree, but for, you know, the 2000s up to maybe like 2015, most of the rap music was sort of controlled by what? The mainstream, by the record companies, and they were not promoting a positive message. They were promoting the opposite of that, right?
No, sir. I mean, you're absolutely right. That whole situation is interesting. So I was actually just doing some research on that specifically the other day, like corporations getting involved in the hip hop. Because I skateboard and shit, and you know, like if you know any skaters, especially like they're kind of older, you know when corporations got involved in skating, like Nike and Adidas and shit, New Balance, like motherfuckers like hated it. It's like I'm gonna ride Baker boards only, and like I'm not gonna wear those Nike shoes. I'm gonna wear these Osiris's. Like I'm gonna wear these DCs. Like this is like just core. And you can see the same thing happen in hip hop when the corporations started to get involved, and you got these backpack rappers that separate from the other. You know, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it waters it down. It
separated.
takes it out of the local people's hands instead of getting this cool original skateboard company run by a dude like Chris who owns his own business and loves the sport. You know, you're getting it from a company, some nerd in a tie telling, you know, people in China how to build the right shoes, you know, instead of a guy who's going to wear the shoes actually making them.
Yeah, exactly. And with hip hop, it's crazy because a lot of these larger companies got involved, but companies who don't really have anything to do with music, companies who make weapons, like guns, companies who own private prisons, companies, and mind you, you can like, this is like a quick Google search. I don't know the names of the companies on top of my head, but you got like Warner Brothers and Acme. They make warheads, like missile, like warheads, but they also sign gangster rappers. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You got like Sony and all the different bullshit they're into. And Sony Music Group is like one of the biggest labels, period. They sign all kinds of people all the time. I don't know if it was you guys or Isaac Weishaupt that was talking about meme magic, but there's like labels do that too. Like they hire people to make memes about rappers or whatever to either blow them up or whatever. But like there's some weird shit that happened with that too. Like before Juice WRLD died, like 2 years before he died, there was all these vines and shit about Juice WRLD seizing up, Juice WRLD overdosing, right? And I'm pretty sure this started with the labels, but then you see later how he actually dies. It was on an airplane. He overdosed.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Self-fulfilling prophecy, but not really. I mean, unless he was filming them himself, it's not really a self-fulfilling. It's more of like a prophecy that he got involved with, you know, against his own better judgment.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do that to the kids all the time. Like I've noticed, like I had deals offered to me, all kinds of stuff, but I noticed like certain things start happening once you get a little older. Because especially once you've been around for a while, it's like you know more. So they like, we don't want you. They want people who don't really know too much. And if you look at how many rappers are being signed now versus to even 5 years ago, it's more than ever. It's only going to keep being more because just what I was saying earlier with these companies, they own the prisons too. So these companies own the private prisons, and there's rules. Like, don't take my word for it. You can search all this shit up. There's rules that they have to keep these prisons 90 plus capacity, like 90% plus capacity, in order for it to still get money from certain other companies.
I've heard about that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They have an incentive to keep the prison full. It's the same thing with the hospitals, everything that's going down in the past 2 years. They don't have an incentive to heal people. They have an incentive to make more money off of them, treating them and keeping them there as long as they can. Same thing with prison. They love it when people repeat an offense and come right back. I mean, that's just more money in their pocket. So they're not trying to rehabilitate when you're in a situation like that.
It's a for-profit company.
Yeah.
With shareholders that you have to appease. What are you guys talking about? It's like so obvious. It's business. It's just evil. It's just fucking evil.
Yeah. It is absolutely evil. And you get all these kids who usually get signed 19, 18 years old. Like, look at how they got Lil Wayne. Or even like people like the kid Leroy, some 15, 16-year-old kid from Australia, like super platinum. Or you can even look at it like with Justin Bieber. Like Usher found Justin Bieber, but look how
his face went numb, son. Did you see
it? Duh.
You guys see this?
No, Justin Bieber's face is done.
Bro, tell him.
No. All right, so he got a booster, if I'm not mistaken, and half of his face is just like fucking numb. Like he can smile, but like the other shit's like, you know.
Oh,
Justin Bieber, the biggest star on planet fucking Earth.
Yeah.
Face went numb, half face numb, like he had like a stroke, like he's 70, bro. Like what?
That's why the Illuminati Confirmed podcast does not endorse injectables. Now, if we could switch topics so that we stay on YouTube, if we could stay on
by Pfizer,
if we could stay on YouTube for just one live stream, that would be great. But anyways, yeah, that's weird. Juan and I actually just were on a podcast with Dan. Dan had that happen to him, didn't he say that happened to him? But I don't think it was because of the injectable. I think it was because of like just stress. He just worked himself too hard. But wow. Yeah, I mean,
crazy.
Too much money, and his face was like, "I'm fucking out of here, dude."
Yeah, well,
what's this, dude? Oh no, another world tour. Fuck.
Oh my gosh. So when people look at the rap world, the hip hop world today, are there still bright lights? Are there people who are pushing against the curve? I mean, who are you listening to?
Fuck yeah, dude. Honestly, I would say now more than ever, just because the internet is so accessible to everybody. So like, and you can make music so cheap now. I mean, when I was a kid, you had to like buying the studio equipment was so expensive. Right. And now it's like you can just get it set up for $150, you know, like a decent setup.
Gravedigger, are your parents 5%ers or any shit like that?
That's a whole nother conversation. So my grandfather, he was Muslim, Shia, but my great grandfather, my great grandmother, when my great grandfather died, she became Jehovah's Witness, and so my mom grew up in the Jehovah's Witness church, and my dad he grew up in the Baptist church. It's crazy because I practice Islam, probably not traditionally. I would consider myself more of a Sufi. But when only because of my grandfather, like I was just learning about him. He died when I was 1. So like when I was a kid, I just wanted to learn all about him, you know? And, so I know like his brother was a 5%er, but he was Shia, you know what I'm saying? But it's just like normal New York shit. Same way Malcolm X was a part of the Nation of Islam and then he converted. Right.
But you know, it's like on some like Black Masonry shit, right?
My father was a Mason, so I didn't even. I want to talk to y'all about that.
Illuminati confirmed.
I knew it, bro. I knew it. So my father was a Mason, my mother was an Eastern Star. And
I told you this guy was a homunculus, bro. I love everything he's saying until right.
No, stop.
Continue.
Yeah, keep going, bro.
No, this shit is crazy interesting, dude. If you watch Belly and they like talk about 5% Nation, the Nation of Islam, the gods on the earth. If you listen to Wu-Tang Clan, like if you look at KRS-One, Temple of Hip Hop, like it's intertwined.
That's actually has a lot to do with hip hop being spread around the world. Is the Temple of Hip Hop, and these schools that African Bambaataa started. So KRS-One has his shit in New York right now.
Zulu Nation and shit, right?
Yeah. Zulu. So basically, when Zulu Nation did their first world tour, it was independently funded, you know, and they went to all the countries they could go to, much of the countries in Africa and Europe, and Asia and shit, like Thailand and Japan and shit. And they started these schools and showed people the elements of hip hop, like the original elements of hip hop and what it meant. And that's why, like, if you go to these places, there's graph, like good ass graph everywhere, and people are still like rapping on boom bap beats and shit because that seed was planted like a long time ago, like mid 70s, early 80s.
But bro, that shit you were talking about earlier though, with the Caribbean nations getting the accolades for inventing hip hop, like, you know, we got to understand that electronic music, you know, started in Jamaica. Toasting over records started in Jamaica. Like being an actual MC, you know, a microphone controller. Like this is the party producer, the one man band,
the wizard
sound system. That's what I mean. You look at David Rodigan, you listen to these guys now that have been studying reggae, Jamaican in particular, since the 40s. Yeah. This is where this comes from. Like a lot of this undeniably, but it is interplayed, but as the world is.
Yeah, that's what I thought for so long. You know what I'm saying? I really thought that for so long, just because I grew up around so many Jamaicans and shit. Like I said, my mom's from Brownsville. If you ever been to East New York, Brownsville, there's nothing but yards, you know? Yards outside everywhere. So I used to think that, right? But then if you just go back, before Jamaica had the same access that we had, they get the toasting from us. Like if you listen to these old Jamaican DJs talk, right? They get the toasting from us. Like before they were ever toasting, they were listening to us on the radio. This is like the 30s and shit. You know what I'm saying? They're listening to us on the radio, MCing and like rhyming, but it wasn't in the same way. It was completely different, you know? But it was just their take on that. And then you get the toasting and the dub, and right, that's where electronic music comes from. Just like you said, you get the toasting and the dub.
Yeah, Lee Scratch Perry, all respect.
Absolutely. I got a Lee Scratch Perry shirt, like a Supreme Lee Scratch Perry shirt.
Dude, watch the fucking Upsetter, the documentary. It is absolutely incredible. Yeah. And he's a black magician, and what? He's a black magician, dude, and he would do all kinds of shit. Watch the movie, dude. Benicio del Toro does the.
Not lying.
Well, wait. When you say he's a black magician, you mean like white versus black magic, like, or do you mean black like he's a black man and a magician?
No. I don't. I mean, he played the line between getting.
He's an African American magician. Is that what you're trying to get at, Chris?
No, he's a magician.
He's not American.
Watch this shit.
Yo, what was the name of the movie, bro? So I can write it down.
Called The Upsetter.
Okay.
The Upsetter?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's incredible. But you watch this thing, dude, and it opens with him splashing, you know, Jamaican white rum into the four corners of the room and lighting specific candles and, like he said, blow the fire, right? Yeah. And then you look at any of his drawings, and they look a lot like a possessed person with a marker went fucking bananas in your house, right?
Yeah.
And so he's putting spells on all four corners. He's doing, you know, he's waking up with his head to the east. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is what it is, dude.
No, absolutely. So the thing about
he's the best that ever did it, bro. He invented electronic music. He was the first person to ever sample, and the first thing that ever sampled was a baby crying.
So I actually got notes on that. I would say he's the first Jamaican to ever sample, but there is a what's his name? Oh, I'm looking at my notes right now. What's his name? Because I had to write this shit down.
Baby crying is the first ever sample. One of the first ever samples.
He's a like a savant, like a modern day Michelangelo.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But do you know Grandmaster Flowers? Cameron Flowers or DJ Pete Jones. No. These are some of the first people to sample break beats or make the break beat and then loop it, like before Funky Drummer.
I think this stuff, dude, is like, man, in some cases, like, you know, we could argue about the finer points, but I think sometimes, like, dude, like people, like it's in the air. Like how many people came up with the airplane at the same time? Like multiple. So I think
with music so much more so, it's like so you know, intangible.
It's a vibe,
Yeah, it floats through the air, literally floats through the air. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Well,
yeah, it's a vibe thing too, because like,
but
you know, I was asking the 5%er thing or Gravedigger because
Gravy's got some
Yeah.
notes. Let him talk. Let him talk, Chris.
No, I'll talk about this 5% shit because that actually leads to some whole other shit because I practice Islam. And so I started off learning about Islam from learning about my grandfather and learning about the 5% Nation. But then I learned about, like, my dad was Mason, like I was saying. My mom was the Eastern Star, like I was saying, because they're veterans. And like I said, it was just normal back then for like Army veterans, like to just join up. But basically I kicked out. So it makes me a Lewis, but I could never join because they got kicked out.
Oh.
Yeah.
They keep records? Like, nah, son. Like,
yeah, they keep records.
Oh,
they
wow.
definitely keep records. But I could become an honorary member, but that's like based off if they want me, like a lodge has to pick and be like, hey, I like the work you're doing, and you know. But I could never join unless I was like a lesser order, like a order that's not connected to the larger Freemasonic orders, you know what I'm saying? Like a smaller shit that's not really connected to him. I could join some shit like that. Like Jehovah's Witnesses, they're fucking Masons. The Mormons, they're fucking Masons. A lot of Islam sects are Masons. A lot of Judaism sects are Masons. But really, like, what got me into all this is like learning about Virginia. Like, I'm from Richmond, Virginia, you know? I know that, like, my parents is from up north and shit, but, like, they got there based off of, like, leaving these more southern places. Because, like, my grandparents all started off in southern places like Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, shit like that, and moved north. So that really was got me into, like, researching a lot of this shit. Not the hip-hop shit. That's kind of just grown with me. But, like, about masonry and shit, because my dad told me about different rituals when I was a kid, but I didn't understand, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But then, like, you hear about shit like the Order of Melchizedek, or you hear about the Phoenicians building the Temple of Solomon and the demons building it at night, and how it would have took 25 years, but because he ordered these demons to build it at night, it only took like 5 years or 2 years or some shit like that. And it made me start looking into why a lot of things are the way they are. If I talk to my great grandmother, she's gonna be like, "Hey, I'm an Indian." You know what I'm saying? If you ask anybody else, they'd be like, "Hey, you're African American," and that's a whole thing. I know, Juan, you do a lot of work, maybe not specifically to that, but about like the original people of Florida. I know there's a lot of Moorish people there. There's a lot of Indians that got taken into slavery. People who look like me and got reclassified. But the reason I think Virginia is so interesting is because the whole East Coast was Virginia at one point through the Virginia Company in London before New England was a thing. Yeah. So it's actually fucked up.
No, I've seen this. Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I'm sure you're aware of Ross Ben, but he talks about how you know there's groups of people from Africa that came here way before Columbus, settled the Caribbean, South America, North America, and maybe that's why they have these massive Olmec heads, you know, that seem to look like an African person, you know.
Well,
you said Pennsylvania? I'm sorry.
What? No, he said Virginia.
Oh, Virginia.
I didn't say Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. What were you gonna say?
You can hear me. So, like, and just going deeper into this research, like, there's hella books I could send you. Basically,
mark all the books, dude.
Send them more.
More books, yeah.
I'll take it. Yeah, cool. I've suggestions as well. I'll buy them myself. That's awesome. I love it. People have sent books. People have sent books. If you want the PO box, I'll send it. But yeah, I love it.
There's this book. I don't think I've heard you mention it before, but I think you should read it. It's called Ancient Mystic Oriental Masonry.
I have it.
You say you have it?
No, I haven't heard of that. That sounds really interesting. So ancient.
You should read it.
Oriental mystic
Ancient
masonry.
Yeah, ancient mystic Oriental masonry.
Okay. Amon.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
And
What can
page
you tell us about that?
25, they talk about some indigenous people who are to be considered Negroes, but who are from America. But I got so many sources and pictures and shit. Like my family, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, let me start off like very simply.
Go ahead.
So people like Ross Ben, or a lot of scholars will say, hey, before Columbus, Africans traveled to the New World. But I think it's way, way deeper than that. It's not just, hey, Africans traveled to the New World. If you read the Bible, right, it tells you about how the sons of Ham went to the land of Shem. Shem was supposed to inhabit the middle of the earth. You see what I'm saying? A lot of people consider the lands of Shem to be America, North and South America, including Canada. A lot of people consider the sons of Ham to be from Eastern Africa, Central Africa, Northern Africa, that area, North, Central, Eastern Africa, like that, the whole right top side, you know what I'm saying? And basically, they came over here when they weren't supposed to. This is way longer than 10,000 years ago. And they got kicked out and went back. And when they went back, they established places like Morocco and Tunisia and Tripolis. And this is just what the Bible says. And I always thought that was interesting because nobody ever brings that up when they talk about people, or like the history of people. And I know it's like, all right, it's the Bible, like whatever, but like so many people base their entire, like we think of Jews to be a race because of the Bible, you know? Like we think of all kinds of people to be like a group because of the Bible. So it's like, why don't we consider these Americans?
Wait, hold on though. I got one for you though. I did ask my buddy who's Jewish the other day about that. And he agreed. He was like, no, we're different. I was like, what? Say what? He's like, yeah.
What's the question?
He did say that. I was like, I can't, you know what I'm saying? He said that. I was like, oh, okay. I thought we was all kind of the same, but different. But he said they're different. So
No, absolutely. So basically, when I
talk, it was weird.
Studying the indigenous people of Virginia or in Florida or in Connecticut, Michigan, California, Texas, you'll see that a lot of these people have Semitic origins. A lot of these people have Semitic names. A lot of these people have Semitic practices, like Jews. A lot of colonizers refer to these indigenous people as a prayerful people. If you look at pictures, you'll see similar like 6-point star imagery. You'll see similar tales like oral traditions that line up with Bible stories and shit. And it's like, well, why is that? But the Bible tells us, you know, that they came, like a lot of these tribes are considered to be lost tribes. I'm not saying, oh, it's like the 13th tribe, or these are lost tribes of Israel. But like, why would scholars, like colonial scholars, come here and then say, hey, these must be lost tribes based off of their customs and customs only, you know?
Well, there's a lot of evidence I've come across that fits into what you're saying. I mean, for one, in Connecticut, there's a rock up Lake Warramog, Mount Tom. On top of Mount Tom, 300 years ago, they found Hebrew writing carved into this rock. That's just one. Down near your way in the Carolinas, there's a group of people with fair skin. Their hair turns white as they age, and they claim to have lived in Carolinas for 600, 700 years more. Like they claim tribal heritage, but they look like Jewish people, what we would consider like modern Jewish people. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there's so many more examples of like what you're saying. There's another one that I just sort of slipped my mind, but wow, gravy. This is incredible. You're giving us the gravy, as Chance and Slick Dissident like to say. The synchro gravy.
I have a book for you, actually. Another one, if you want to learn about Jews in America, specifically during colonialism.
Okay.
Because in Europe, they sent a lot of quote-unquote undesirables. So it's from Ireland, Scotland, Iceland, Greenland, Finland, Sweden. Like all these European countries are European strongholds, like countries that Europe is like owned over. They sent quote unquote undesirables to America. And basically what these quote unquote undesirables were, you'll search up a term called Black Protestant. All of their Muslim populations and all their Jewish populations are Negro Quakers. You know what I'm saying? They sent them to America, and for a while they were free, and then after a while they got enslaved.
Really?
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Even like some of my ancestors, like I got some ancestors that are Hedgepath Indians, and they're related to Nanticoke Indians, and all of the Nanticoke or Nanticoke, however you say it, I forget how you say it. Like it's a weird word, but I think it's Nanticoke. Nanticoke.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
they're up here in New England. I've seen some signs, and there'll be like a Nanticoke River here and there. Or, yeah.
So they was all around, you know, this part of the America, and basically they all got enslaved. Like their main headquarters, like where they were, like their city center, like their tribe center, just got ransacked and enslaved. If you search that up, Nanticoke slavery, you'll find all kinds of information about it. And a lot of these people look like me. And what it was is that, so this is why I was going to get into the masonry, is because the concept of duality, the black and the white, that's basically one of the things that you see in masonry a lot, this checkerboard concept. And they label people black or white. I can give you examples from my family. My great grandmother, her sister is white pat because she was scared to go to like be known as a colored woman. You see what I'm saying? And because of that, it was a safety thing, you know? So she could have just a better life.
Right.
She married a so-called white man, and I have a bunch of white cousins now. But you know what I'm saying? We don't talk.
Bob Marley too.
Yeah, absolutely. And the funny part about, like, I think that whole situation is that, do you think about Walter Plecker? All right, so this is something that I think you would really appreciate, is learning about Walter Plecker. Walter Plecker was friends with Marcus Garvey, sadly.
Ooh, here we go. Ooh, talk about it.
But basically, Walter Plecker, he's a huge eugenics guy.
Good times.
Like, huge eugenics guy, just like Bill Gates people, you know? Just like...
Are eugenics, to be clear, are eugenics people that are trying to actively get rid of certain people?
Yes.
or traits?
Yes.
Both?
Yes, absolutely. So
okay,
I'll explain it.
So, okay, yeah, please.
So basically, Walter Plecker, he invented a couple of things. Let me open up my notes so I don't get this law wrong, because there's these laws in Virginia where he basically got them passed, and they're all eugenics types laws. So basically, there is the Virginian Indian Racial Integrity Act, or the Virginia Racial Integrity Act. If you search this up, or anybody talking about it, or you just read it for yourself, you'll see that Walter Plecker basically influenced this law to say certain things. And what it says is that, hey, look, if anybody that you deem to be visually Negro cannot be Indian in the state of Virginia. So basically, they just took the status away from millions of people. Just took it away. And this is like ended up in slavery that were once free. Mind you, not from Africa, not from Jamaica or Cuba or anywhere else, from Virginia, been here for 10,000 or more years. And these guys come over and it's like, hey, we're going to reclassify you. And that's definitely eugenics. So basically, they went to a lot of these tribes, and during censuses, it's like, if you looked white, then, and you said like, hey, I'm a free white person, they labeled you as that. The term mulatto, like, search up in the Black's Law Dictionary, the fourth edition, or really any of the first 10 editions, a lot of the words are the same. Free white person doesn't mean just, hey, your skin is white. And black means dead, literally dead. So legally, though, this is a legal status. So when people put this shit on their census, you know what I'm saying?
You know what mortgage means?
I don't actually, but I should look it up.
It means death.
You said that when people put themselves down as black, they're literally saying that they're dead.
Absolutely. But Walter Plecker had a lot to do with that.
Right?
Wait, say it again?
Like word magic shit. It's
Absolutely.
like, it doesn't mean nothing. It has nothing to do with color. Like, let's get past. It means you claim a side, but the real problem is they don't teach you the rules of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're cunts.
Well, it's not just that they don't teach you the rules of the game. They give you a fake set of rules to keep you a victim for generations while they play the rules of the game, you know?
Yeah. Definitely.
No, for sure.
Yeah. It's a rigged fucking thing, man. This whole thing is a fucking chutes and ladders out here, man.
So on the legal side of things, people are actually like hurting themselves by, you know, on paper identifying a certain way without knowing.
Absolutely. If you identify as white or black and you're an American person, you're like wrongfully led into knowing who you are and where your people came from.
I identify as a toaster, as a Portuguese transsexual toaster.
Well, so it's funny that you make that joke though, because like, you know, like all this shit is going on now with the transhumanism shit and like the law of gender and how it's like goes hand in hand with that. And they're saying, hey, you can identify as anything you want. You know what I'm saying? Like this, what I'm talking about is literally basically the same thing, but it's like a force into a certain way. Cause like you see how now it's like, oh, they're like really persuading people, like, hey, maybe you should be something else. You know what I'm saying? Rather than saying just do what you want. It's literally the same thing. Walter Plecker.
Lil Nas X is like the gay version of Nas. Do you think they're gonna take every rapper and do like a gay version? You know what I'm saying?
Oh my god.
So that's been
KC, son. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all seen Boondocks?
The cartoon.
Yeah, I know y'all seen Boondocks, Gangstalicious in them.
That's old, bro.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. You know? It's the same exact shit. A lot of these rappers, like, they go through humiliation rituals. You feel me?
Yeah.
Not every single one, but a lot of them, like, once you get to a certain level, they go through humiliation rituals, and people get fucked over. Look at what happened in B2K, or any of these groups where people come out. It's like, oh, my manager was abusing me, and blah 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 blah. Like, Justin Bieber was abused. You feel me? Like a lot of
Lil Wayne too.
Yeah, Lil Wayne, absolutely. A lot of people get humiliated, and that's a part of it, you know?
I do want to get into that, but I don't want to slip past the point you were making about Walter Plecker. I just looked him up, and he turns out to be a pretty bad dude in the sense that he was fucked up. He was an evil man. I don't know.
A racist motherfucker.
Seems like he was a bad dude. He basically, what he did was he erased the records that would have given the original people who lived in Virginia, the First Nations people of Virginia, a right that most native tribes have, you know, some sort of legal status or treaty, right? He basically burnt all their documents because they had made them with the king, you know, back when it was a Virginia colony. So he said, oh, you guys, you know, you made a deal with the enemy. We don't, you know, whatever. So they even to this day, people who live in Virginia have issues with that if they're First Nations, legally speaking.
Yeah. So like my family is indigenous, but I'm considered an African American. You see what I'm saying? Like, we don't come from Africa. We was never from there. I got some ancestors from East Africa due to slavery. Like, they was slave traders themselves. You know, from Ethiopia, Yemen area, Sudan area.
Juan, what are you?
I'm Puerto Rican.
But what's that?
That's blacks from Africa, slaves from the mainstream slaves from Africa, the Spaniards, and then the indigenous people.
But what kind is you though? Which variety is you?
I'm a mutt. I don't know. I'm brown. I say that I can say the N-word. I mean, I got a pass, right? But
not on this show.
I don't know, bro.
Nah, you indigenous as fuck, man. Well, like that's the hijack, bro. Like, really, a lot of motherfuckers from Puerto Rico, they like y'all only look a certain way because there's more European ancestry. But at the end of the day,
there's full blacks in Puerto Rico, like black. Like, your skin tone, and in my wife's Brazilian. In Brazil, her cousins are black, black.
But see, that's the difference with Brazil and Puerto Rico, and then like a place like Virginia or Florida, even there's a lot less. So if you look like Virginia, like Richmond, Virginia was a port town, right? The second most African slaves came through here than anywhere else in America. There's another place in Texas, I think that got us beat by a couple 100,000. But when you get down to it, only 380 something thousand West African people actually made it to America from the whole time of slavery.
How many?
380 something thousand. Like 300. Like, search this up.
Like, no disrespect, but that I thought the number was like way higher.
Exactly. So, but there's a reason for that, because they don't want us to have our land. Do you see what I'm saying? Just like he was saying, how Walter Plecker like literally committed paper genocide, wrote a bunch of people out of history because he had this grudge against the Indians of Virginia because of the treaties with the fucking queen or the king.
It's fucking wild.
A lot of people do this shit, bro. At least a lot of eugenics type people, and they use so-called black people to champion, to push the narrative. You know, people like Frederick Douglass, people like Marcus Garvey, who say, "Hey, let's go back to Africa," when it was never from Africa. Do you see what I'm saying?
So is BLM another one of those psyops?
Absolutely.
Is that what it's for? Because if you're spitting some stuff right now, and how you're saying they're propping this people who are African. It's like, you're not even from Africa. Like, I have a buddy of mine who's Caribbean and he's dark skin. And if you call him African American, he gets kind of mad. He's like, bro, I'm not. I'm Jamaican and I'm Caribbean. I'm from St. Thomas or something like that. But
his ancestors are probably maroons. You know what I'm saying? If he's a dark-skinned Caribbean man, his ancestors are probably indigenous and they're probably maroons or Tainos.
Yeah.
Caribs, Arawaks.
Well,
and that's the politicizing of biology. That's the boundaries, imaginary boundaries that have been cast by the people who are creating geomantic spells that last generations, right? And this is a part of it. When they came to the New World, they had a new Atlantis in mind, a Garden of Eden, and the people here were, written out of history because they stood in the way. They stood in the way of, this royal right to own property, and we all know how frivolous that is. But we were talking about masonry. We got our resident mason joining us here, Paranoid American Thomas G joining
Illuminati
us
confirmed.
in the live stream right now.
He's a paranoid American, and he's ranting about conspiracies again.
All right, time to go home, everybody. We got the Freemason.
Oh, man.
Damn.
So
the brothers got together recently and said that we're not allowed to talk about that anymore. So just cut it.
All right, live stream.
Cut it.
Forget you heard that live stream. We'll cut this out of the final cut. Anyways, do we have our Men in Black or memory eraser? Psh, just erase the memory of the audience.
We have a men that is black, and we have now a men in black. I don't know. I mean, it is what it is.
All right, Juan. Juan's taking a lot of creative license with this live stream. Anyways, we were just talking about some hidden history of America, and now we have the Paranoid American with us, a fellow Florida man. Welcome to the show. We're here with our guest tonight, Gravy, and we figured since this is the first inaugural live stream that we're going to be doing every other Tuesday, we'd bring some friends along halfway through and keep it exciting. So, Gravy, feel free to stick around as long as you'd like. We'll keep talking about. We'll keep on the topic we're on, because I think everybody in the chat and everyone here sitting in on this Zoom call, my girlfriend Tara, who's listening with headphones on over there, love what we're getting into, and I think Thomas does as well, or at least he might be interested. Maybe we'll get a comic book one day about this. But anyways, where were we, Gravy? You're rolling up a joint? Don't let me interrupt you. I could keep talking if you want some time to roll that up.
Nah, you good, bro. He was mentioning the masonry aspect of it. You said you didn't want to skip past it.
Well, that's the interesting thing, because there's a correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's the Prince Hall chapter of Freemasonry, and they're centered in the Caribbean, I think, or have some
Prince
roots
Albert.
there.
Prince Albert.
No.
Thomas is Prince Albert.
He's in a can, okay?
That's an interesting topic actually, because not too long ago we were on a podcast and someone was asking about Freemasonry and racism, and one of the points that I had to look up that was kind of shocking is that as of like 2021, I think it was, or at least this year, technically Prince Hall Freemasonry and regular Masonry within the United States are supposed to be able to commingle, but like as it rolls out through state by state, through each state's Grand Lodge, the last I had looked within Florida, like I would be allowed to go to just any Prince Hall Masonry as long as I got the invite. But if someone that was only in Prince Hall Masonry wanted to go to a regular, quote unquote regular lodge, they would have to actually get approval from the Grand Lodge in order to do that without it being kind of considered of like this gray area co-masonry. So even though that there's supposed to be this like full embrace of Prince Hall Masonry, it is so recent that the red tape is still kind of getting cut in places, which is very much like a modern day version of it.
Are we allowed to know that, dude?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about like honestly.
And it's not every state, by the way. I think like there's only maybe they're coming after us now. I think there's only like 4 or 5 states that are still waiting for like a full integration between Masonry and Prince Hall. Florida just happens to be one of those final stragglers.
I'm sorry.
Watch this Paranoid American cut out right now.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Thomas, but Juan, you cannot play that sound effect when our friend here is rolling up a joint. You know what kind of fear you just put through his whole body? I mean, geez, you scared me, and I'm not even.
I don't know what the fuck that is.
Oh man. Anyways, yeah, it's a strange situation. And I wonder, if the Knights of the Golden Circle have anything to do with this too, because I forget which podcast I was on. I think it was Wednesday Ultra, and they came up as a group that had a lot of influence in the Caribbean as well. And I'm like, what do they have to do with this whole equation?
Dude, think about those islands like those are like it's a little town, dude. And you know how you drive into every little town that says like Mason at work, and it says like the other one with the Lions Club, and then there's the other. And I would imagine every port is like that, kind of like, right? You pull up, there'd be established business, there'd be established, layers within layers, for example.
Yeah, that makes sense. Honestly, dude, that makes perfect sense. The Knights of the Golden Circle, that's what you mentioned, right, Mark?
Yes.
So if I'm not mistaken, because I was doing some research on the KKK not too long ago. If I'm not mistaken, they have like a huge hand in starting the KKK by way of like the Dixiecrats in Virginia, in like the Civil War and shit.
That's kind of why I brought it up, because Thomas just used the phrase Freemasonry and racism, and on this show that I was on recently, somebody said the opposite of that. They were like, "Oh no, that's all historical conjecture, and the KKK was started by something else." And I had almost been certain that I had read somewhere that the Knights of the Golden Circle basically became the KKK, but the Knights of the Golden Circle were like devoted to stealing away all of this gold to prop up the South in the Civil War, so that eventually the South could fight again, and obviously that never happened. So with all that rage, they just ended up resorting to being gang and criminals,
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. They were supposed to basically they wanted to make a new South. They wanted to expand the South to include Mexico and Jamaica and like Puerto Rico, a couple other islands. They wanted that to like still be the slave trade, because mind you, this like most of these slaves weren't coming from Africa. These are indigenous people, and they're being separated by the concept of duality, the black and white. So it's like, if you're an indigenous person, it doesn't matter what tribe, if you could pass for white, or if it's one generation away from being like completely a so-called white man, you were marked off as white on your census. And if it's like your opposite, you could be like brother and sister, and the brother could be marked off as Negro or colored, and the sister could be marked off as white. And this is where a lot of confusion comes in. You know what I'm saying? because I don't know if you know anything about $5 Indians, but all this is like COINTELPRO before.
Well, it's almost
COINTELPRO.
like on a human scale, selective breeding. Like they're politically incentivizing a shade skin to go with a certain shade of skin in order to almost like maximize those qualities, right? So you're either really bright white or you're really bright black, or you're really bright orange, or you're really bright red. Like they're extremifying it to like create a division where before maybe it was more of a palette where there's not so much of a black and white. It's more of like, well, there's 18 different colors, so who cares about what color you are? You're just human.
I mean, if you know anything about those like rich white scientists from Europe, they fucking love to categorize shit, bro. That's like it's
classification.
Thing,
it's a whole science. The whole science of classification. Carl Linnaeus, he was like the biggest dork ever. He loved writing down little types of plants. And
I mean, there's a point to it, but if also like to be in that kind of a mindset where every time you see something, you're like, what bucket do I put this one in? I really have to think about this one. It's a weird fucking mindset to always be in, You know
who came up with eugenics? Take a wild fucking guess, Mark. It's
fucking German.
It's one of your favorite people in history
no, it's
ever.
not.
Bro.
My favorite people
came up with. Let's hear what the answer is here.
The goddamn German.
Pythagoras was one of the first people.
That's your favorite person, dude. Come on, dude.
Listen, that's why Plato. That's why Plato wrote about it. And Aristotle too. All these guys were jumping off each other. That's why Plato wrote about it in the Republic, where they wanted to segregate certain groups of people. Only certain people could breed with each other to keep this line again back. And that's what these.
I don't know if you ever tried to date a Greek girl, but her brothers are usually the first ones to stop that. So yeah, I could see that.
I can't relate. I'm sorry, sir. But yeah, Pythagoras was one of the first to come up with this idea of selective breeding. And then from there, he's one of the fathers of Western philosophy that trickled down. And we were actually in competition. Germany was actually in competition with us with eugenics because they were trying to beat us. In 1912, 1919, all these years, they were sterilizing.
Not just competition, bro. It was like hip hop, right? Like America came up with it, showed the world how to do it, and now Germany is still 10 years behind. Like, oh, we really want to be good at that. How did you guys get so good at that?
Well, because it's always been inverted. It's always been like, oh no, they were the first ones to do this horrible stuff and World War II and stuff. And when you actually start to read about it and learn about it, you go, wait a minute, we were doing it before that. We were innovating before them with that type of stuff.
Well, if you think about it, if Germany hadn't gone, to the extent that they did, there's a good chance that eugenics could still be like a common, non-taboo topic. It's just that one guy took that shit so far that everyone's like, I don't even want to see anything related to eugenics anymore.
That's why they hide now. You know what I'm saying? That's why they hide now. They still into it. Everybody's into it. All the richest motherfuckers, they love you.
Just gotta change the name around a little bit. Now it's called like designer babies. Right?
Now it's called transhumanism, bro.
Transhumanism. Exactly.
Yeah, I was just talking to a person who had a sort of a positive spin on transhumanism. They were like, "Oh, well, it could help people with disabilities, and wouldn't you want to have superpowers too?" And the whole time I was just thinking, like, in all respect to this guest, they were fabulous, but the rich people are going to use that against everybody else. It's classism. It always goes back to classism. Everything we're talking about is classism, and they use racism to hide the fact that it's classism, at least in the last 100 or so years.
Dude, think about this. One side is racism. The other side is just a fetish.
A fetish?
Bombs over here.
So you're saying maybe in 100 or 200 years, people's fetishes will be like public information and it'll be used against us as stigma?
Right now it's in style to be like, dude, I'm into like whatever, but like, yeah, you're into whatever, but the through line, it's fat bitches, you know what I mean? Or whatever you think. Feet, you know what I mean? Whatever you... Gravedigger gets me.
No, I do.
Chris, make a point, please. Don't just leave us hanging with that.
Think about it, man. Think about it. My shit is real, dude.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think me and the chat are lost, but everyone else seems to understand what's
How
going
dare
on
you.
here.
Why do we have Chris on the show, bro? Like he comes up with these crazy, obscure ideas out of nowhere. He's like digging somewhere out in the cosmos, bro.
One side is like love and openness, like wow, like I'm down with whatever, like people of all different races should be able to commingle and yada yada yada, right?
Yeah.
And the other is just like I just want to fuck feet. I don't care, like just whatever, you know what I mean? Give me feet on the feet, you know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. Well, this is a great time to bring another person into this live stream. We got Shane Newsome, the host of I Knew Some But I Didn't Know It All podcast. He's also a very talented musician. We're just bringing all the peoples together right now. We're talking about all kinds of stuff. Chris kind of threw a monkey wrench, and I don't know.
First of all, how dare you, son of a bitch? Gravedigger got my back. He understands what I'm saying. Well, homunculus knows.
I was just about to say, you threw a monkey wrench at me, and now I don't know where you were, and now I want to introduce Shane. Shane knows everybody. Hello. Everybody knows Shane. And now we got 6 people here in the first Illuminati confirmed live stream ever. But let's get back on topic. Shane, jump in whenever you feel like you have something to say.
Fuck yeah.
Me and Shane have actually done an episode together, but he doesn't remember me. But that's how stoned he was that day, bro.
No, dude. Yeah, dude, I remember. Juan, I'm sorry, man. I didn't realize it was you. You didn't have all the crazy lights and hats and shit, dude.
I think I might have been in Miami for that episode, but yeah, we've podcasted before together.
Hell yeah, brother.
Well, we're live, and I just, I should explain to the 2 people that just jumped in randomly. This is Illuminati confirmed live. You never know what could happen next. We could have an even crazier guest than this lunatic that just joined in who's smoking a bowl on YouTube live. So who knows? We could fill this up with 9 people. I'm just like an orchestrator here. I'm like, all right, we're gonna start with Gravy. We're gonna put some Thomas in there, and then we're gonna finish it off with Shane Newsome. Who knows where this conversation can go now? But we're here, so let's stay on topic because where we were was very interesting. Gravy, do you remember where we were?
I don't remember exactly where we were. We were talking about mystery, but I thought about something while we were like
hit me
in between.
Let's hear it.
So do you know like in the Bible, like in First Kings and Second Kings, it talks about the Hebrews, the Israelites establishing Israel and Judah. And how the Phoenician Empire like helped them like become like a nomadic people and just like chill in that area and like develop the civilization and shit because they were just a warring traveling people. They didn't have any building skills.
Right.
And I have a theory about this because remember I was mentioning earlier about how a lot of indigenous people on the East Coast have these Semitic origins. I think that because so like Joseph Smith and fucking how he thinks like Utah is like the Holy Land and shit.
Right.
But he really just ended up getting he really just ended up getting kicked out to there, But
he was exiled, yeah.
Exactly. But if you really look into it though, like Utah is a crazy place to pick because Utah and Judah are etymologically the same. You know what I'm saying? Utah is like J's didn't exist, if you dig what I'm saying. So like Uda, you know what I'm saying? Utah is the same. It's the same shit. It comes from the Ute Indians, but even saying that, all right, this word comes from these Ute Indians, these are Aboriginals with this Semitic language. If you look at the relationship between Algonquin and Hebrew is super similar. And any Algonquin derivative language is super similar to these Semitic languages like Aramaic, Hebrew, Amharic, Arabic. You know what I'm saying? They're similar names, similar customs and beliefs, but when the colonizers got here, they considered the people savages and pagans. So I think that's a part of like a hijack as well, like some COINTELPRO bullshit. Like I'm only using COINTELPRO as like a term though, because like this is before it existed, obviously. But I'm saying like just some bullshit in that vein. Like, hey, these guys are literally related to these other guys. Let's like stop that connection. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Let's make these people think something completely different, so then we can use the shit that they're using for our benefit. These, just like what Juan talks about with the old buildings and shit in Florida, and like how like it's like half built on one side and another. You know what I'm saying? Or shit that you talk about with just the geomancy and certain people moving into places to be there to have that energy and keeping the names of certain places. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the names don't change, but the concepts and the people change.
Right. Well, I mean, you could find it anywhere here in New England, and I'm sure across the United States, places like Salem and Bethlehem and other biblical references, and they sort of play that name game and repeat things. But I've often wondered if there isn't some kind of consciousness that's like in the landscape itself that makes a person decide to name it that, right? Because if we're going to just go along with what history tells us, okay, some Joe Schmo decided, okay, this is going to be Salem, Massachusetts, right? But I mean, when you look at what's happened since in Salem, clearly that particular Salem has some weird energy, right? I mean, everybody knows what Salem, Massachusetts is associated with. If I said Salem, New Hampshire, you would be like, give me something to work with. Yeah, what are they known for? And I'll tell you, not much other than maybe UFOs and bears going through your trash. But
and dudes who like to fuck feet.
Okay, yeah, well,
where are we going?
Shout out to Juan's podcast, the one-on-one podcast. That's where you can find more of his fetish talk. But
You son of a bitch, you give me credit for that shit.
I was making a point, but please somebody help me out.
I played a metal show in a sushi bar in Salem.
In Salem, Mass?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Dude, we did a field trip there when we were little kids, dude, from Connecticut. They took the whole third grade there to Salem Village.
Oh, yeah. I went too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Did y'all learn about the fucking witch trials?
Yeah, they took us into a mock trial. Yeah, they gave us like the mock trial, and there was some woman that pretended to be a witch. She was acting like a witch.
They were all in like time period garb. You like made candles and shit.
Yeah,
it's like we went to this mock up ritual, and they sacrificed us to Moloch and had everything, and they had the effigy.
It's like going to the Holy Land experience.
Yeah, that's
here in Orlando. I'm curious. Is there like a consensus on the actual truth of what happened to Salem? Because my interpretation is
I love that you asked, because we were just touching on this before with what Gravy was saying about the actual heritage and ancestry of some of the native people, because Tituba, right? Tituba is what is like the most famous witch, and what's interesting about Tituba is she wasn't
was also there.
Okay, I didn't know that part, but what I know is Tituba is not like a typical witch, right? A lot of witches were like a virgin or maiden, an unmarried woman, or even more like a widow. This woman was I think she was like somebody's slave or somebody's housekeeper, and she came from the Caribbean. Right. So whether she was free or not, she was not like your typical witch. A lot of the witches that were hung were like typically young women or, elderly women. But it was a lot of the times the witches it was just social power. Like somebody wanted social power over another person, so they would make up a story that this person was a witch. But with Tituba, she was actually doing some hoodoo magic potentially. And that's what started it.
I heard some interesting on like a quick tangent on that. The whole like accusing other people of being witches. I can't remember the source of this. It was so fascinating that there was an incentive that before there was sort of like a welfare system in the colonies, and also in Europe, that when you saw like that old lady across the street, just like in constant agony and pain and just like always needing help with stuff, there was like this incentive for the community kind of just like accuse them of being a witch, so that the community would take like the old people and like the what they consider like leeches on the town and just accuse them of being witches,
absolve the responsibility.
And as soon as they started implementing some kind of rudimentary welfare systems, a lot of that stopped, along with the decree from like the papacy. But along like that welfare system, all of a sudden like removed a little bit of the burden of the neighbors that had to like live with the aging
Well,
population.
that's like the trick of the state. It's like, yeah, we'll remove your temporary problems and create a permanent problem. Like here's the permanent problem: being stuck on welfare and being economically trapped for your whole life. I mean, I don't think anyone would argue that welfare is ultimately a good thing. It's probably good in certain cases, but yeah, maybe it saved people from being hung as a witch.
It was an interesting, like,
yeah, no, I hear you.
Like it provides an incentive for you to call someone else a witch, not just you want to get above them in society, but like get this old lady out of here.
Right.
It's like fucking Monty Python. But he's not even dead.
Thank you.
Oh, and give him a little
On the nose, you know. You guys know what we're talking about, the Monty Python skit and all that.
Monty Python, Holy
Irrelevant.
Grail, bro.
I saw that like one time when I was a kid. The fucking it's like an 80s movie, right?
Yeah. British humor.
It's irrelevant to the conversation. Chris just wants to seem cool by giving some old guy reference.
I brought it up, dude. I brought it up. I'm the youngest one here.
Well, all right. Well, thank you for validating.
Being a witch, dude. What are you talking about? Mark,
relevant.
You silly fucking goose, dude. You need to listen, buddy.
Somebody in the chat said Monty Python.
First of all, what's going on here? They had ergot fungus.
It's really fucking stupid movie.
Shit.
Oh, he just said something smart. Okay, enough with the movie references. Enough with the movie references. Thomas asked about this, and Chris just gave another explanation. We should highlight that because Chris is smart. I don't like the movie references generally, but the ergot, apparently that's a theory that, in Massachusetts there was ergot and it was spoiling the bread and everybody was hallucinating, and that's why there was this witch crisis.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That early CIA operation.
Yeah, that sounds
pre OSS.
Sounds fishy to me. I don't know.
The Mason.
Yeah, I think that's one of those.
Have you noticed that whenever we come up with a conspiracy, Thomas always has this weird, almost like sympathetic ass kind of whatever is happening? Like MK Ultra, they did this horrible stuff to people. He's like, but did it help advance science? In what sort of way did we? Yeah. Now we're able to. You know what I mean? It's kind of sus.
Do you like VR or not, Juan? I mean, you got to give up something to get something, right? Just like any magical formula.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
That's not the microphone blocking the green screen. That's the green screen absorbing Thomas and pulling him into the matrix.
Caressing him. He's just like being caressed by the green screen.
Man, my background's real.
Dude, the green screen is at the top. Everybody's watching, like taking notes. Like, kill next. Mark.
All right. Well, yeah. Thank you. That's how I feel. This show has become Kill Tony. It's become Kill Mark. Everyone's trying to make jokes. Let's get back. And I started it. I'll take the blame. Let's get back to the topic, though, because I feel like we are somewhere. We have a Mason with us. You can guess who if you don't know who it is.
And pulling them up and seeing if they're still alive, then they're witch.
Yeah. Well, no, not there. I'm talking about before you got here, Shane. We were on some. It's okay. It's not your fault.
Before I got here, you said that you were on a cool sort of conversation about like unnknown parts of America or something, and I had just kind of like kicked right in the middle of that.
No, you picked up on that. We've been we're still talking about that. We're talking more about like the hidden history of America throughout this whole show. I love it.
Well, I got a vein that kind of riffs on top of Salem and continues from there. I had been working on one of those little chick-chack pamphlets. The one that I really been wanting to work on for a while is about the Satanic Panic, and it traces specifically the American Satanic Panic. And it really did kind of start with Salem was like the big one everyone knows about, but really kind of predates that by maybe a century or so, because a lot of the people coming over, they kind of like everywhere they saw it was, demons and magic. So the second they get off the boat and they see someone that just like a little bit different, wearing like red shoes instead of brown shoes, it's like, they're doing witchcraft. That's the devil. Like it was to that level of, because these are Puritans that like literally left their country into the unknown just to get away from someone that didn't meet like every little check mark.
And that's still in the fabric of like New England and even East Coast of the sense of humor is like, this person's this. Like now the cancel culture is so sensitive about this kind of stuff, but that's like ingrained in this melting pot kind of area.
And that's where Satanic Satanic Panic kind of comes from too, right?
Wow.
And like Salem being like the first big one that's on record, but there were so many that came after that. And I think the last documented witch trial was like in the mid to late 1700s. So it wasn't even that long ago. The guy got let off, but he actually like went to court and had to plead his case that he wasn't a warlock.
That's actually crazy. There's a couple of things like about magic that I was like studying, because I remember that book I was trying to mention earlier to you, Mark, about just early Jews, in America. So the book is called Jews and Muslims in British Colonial America. You could just Google that shit.
Okay.
And basically it talks about the undesirables that I was talking about that got kicked out of their whatever home country, ended up in America. And a lot of Puritans, because mind you, some of these people are Puritans, so-called Black people, and then some other Puritans followed, you know what I'm saying? Just because there's already that culture here. And they got along with a lot of Indians for a good 100 years until this duality idea came, you know what I'm saying? But they were like, the culture was like pervasive in the community. That's why Jamestown is the way it is, and New England is the way it is. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody was cool at first. And that's why a lot of people are even still Christian to this day, or it's like evangelical or Baptist or whatever the fuck. Like it's just, it's kind of like second nature. People don't even know why they fucking go to church or why their grandma took them to the church or whatever the fuck, whatever race you are, you know? And then like a lot of Latin people became Catholic forcefully. But that also lines up with their indigenous beliefs, the Catholicism. That's why, like, the voodoo is just a mixture of the Catholicism with the indigenous beliefs. But all they did was align their patron saints from Catholicism with the gods from whatever they believed. But the practices, like the prayerful ways and like the ritual aspects, are super similar because the cultures are all Semitic.
Now, academia tells us that's because, well, if they didn't hide them within the sainthood archetype, then they would lose that tradition. But you're saying it's more of like a positive syncretism because both were true, and now it's the best of both. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Absolutely. That's why the voodoo works so well. That's what I think.
Wow.
Because like, think about it, right? Like if they were hiding, and because think about the Khazars. You know, they had their pagan practices within the Judaism, but you'd see this small sect of Jews be like, have this powerful money magic. Why does it work so well? You know what I'm saying? It's because
absolutely,
I wouldn't say they hid it. You know what I'm saying? Or they because they definitely had to.
Well, here's the thing. You have a larger energy body that you're working with if you're practicing within a group of people like Catholicism, as opposed to maybe like a unknown religion, right? Because an unknown religion is working off of that energy that them and their immediate following can muster up, right? 10, 15 people. Lynn McTaggart says you only need 8 people, right? But imagine the power that you could have doing energy magic, working within something like the Catholic Church, because you're tapping into the consciousness of millions and millions of people. I mean, Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, they're all working this sort of egregore. Each of them have their own egregore, and the larger the egregore, the more, you know, the more weight you play on the field, you know, the more things you can do, the who knows? I mean, maybe I'm just sort of.
I gotta say, my mom had stage 4 melanoma cancer, and like, pretty much everyone was like, "Yeah, you're gonna die." And I mean, they prayed for her at my Catholic church. I don't attend anymore, but I mean, I can't say it didn't help, you know.
Yeah, I've seen people be healed, like in real time, by laying on of hands, and I always thought that was crazy as fuck.
Yeah,
it's
man.
like, you know, it's like, because sometimes you see this shit on fake, like it's fake with the TV evangelists and shit, and let's just get up and start running. Like, this person who wasn't blind is obviously an actor, and now they're not blind anymore. But like, as a kid, I used to go to these really like super small churches, like super religious churches. I grew up in Petersburg, Virginia. I don't know if you know where that is, but it's like a really, really small town, country ass place. A lot of indigenous people, and the church, like, people are just super superstitious, you know. And I can't say I've seen it a lot in my life, but as a child, I definitely see people being healed by the laying on of hands. I always thought that was crazy as fuck.
Has anyone here been to multiple different Christian denominational churches before?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All kinds. I was a part of a cult, the International Church of Christ. I don't know if anybody has heard of that shit.
No.
What's the cool
hear
parts of the
about that,
cult?
man.
Wow, the ICC. You're on the
let's
IC right now, so that's pretty interesting.
Let's say you're trying to sell it, right? You're in the cult now, and you're trying to get me to join.
No.
Like, what are
No.
the pros, man? Let me hear what like the biggest pros are.
I wouldn't say there were any pros to me. Well, actually, I lied. Let me take that back.
You got to get sold on it somehow, right?
Well, all right. So basically, it presents itself as a normal church, and that's why it gets people. And you know what I'm saying? I think that's why it gets people. It presents itself as a normal church, but these people like have this sense of community that normal churches don't usually have, and so like it draws people who don't know like all the details, and it's like, oh damn, like these people are actually together. Like these people are actually following the Bible. So it's like I want to be a part. Like if you're looking for a church to join, it's like that. It seems like kind of church you want to join, but once you get in the church, notice that they're on some shit, you know. One of the big things is that well, everybody's called a disciple, and you can't be a part of the church unless you're a disciple of Jesus specifically, obviously. But basically, like by doing that, you have to study these 12 lessons that they came up with specifically to be baptized in their church. They believe that their church is the one true church of the world, just like how Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses do, and that everybody else is wrong, and that you have to go through these things and follow the Bible exactly in order to be saved and go to heaven. Like you can't just say it. And so that comes with a lot of weird practices. Like by the time you get to the study called the confession study, basically they make you tell them every sin that you've ever committed.
Fucking blackmail.
That sounds pretty Catholic.
Yeah, nah, super Catholic. But
I mean, we're just talking about like the OG intelligence agencies, right? Like, tell me all your secrets, go share it up the chain.
Yeah.
What'd you do this week? 10 Hail Marys. Yo, write that shit down, son.
Yeah, weird. But it's fucked up though, because it doesn't really matter what age. So basically after the age of knowing, like the Bible talks about, there's an age of knowing, like where you like just know right from wrong, like that youthful innocence is gone. And basically they believe that age is around 12, 13 years old. And so basically they make you study the Bible in this very specific way, to be baptized in a very specific way. And they pick people who are part of the church who they think will be most like you. You know what I'm saying? It's like some weird narcissistic shit. Like where they pick like a person who they think is similar to you to be like your elder to study with. So then like you get into the church and shit, and then basically like, you know what I'm saying? You have this idea that the church is just like this, but then start to be other people. And you can't date outside of the church. You can't talk to your family members outside of the church. You like, there's all kinds of shit that you have to do. Like everything is done inside the church. There's no relationships outside of the church.
Yeah, this is very heavy, like People's Temple vibes, or like Oneida community vibes, where like you get married, and like I guess you're describing almost like a mentorship, but like in the People's Temple and Oneida and some of the other ones, it would just be like, I like if that guy and that girl made kids, like y'all are married now, go and reproduce, and like you don't have a say in it because the pastor decided that that's what's going to happen.
They do something very similar to that.
How long did it take you to figure out it was fucked up? Like 10, 15 minutes or what? Like
No, so I was a kid when I joined. Basically, my mom and my dad split. It was like 6 or 7, something like that. My dad moved to Virginia Beach, so I would go down to Virginia Beach like every other weekend. And he joined the church, so every time I go down there, like spring break, weekends and shit, I'm at this church. And basically, I did get baptized when I was like 14 or something. And basically got to a point where it was like, hey, like you're a little older now, you're getting baptized and shit. Like you got to go to the church in Richmond, like where you go back home. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you got to go link with the brothers out there. Like you can't have like the same friends and shit that you had. And it was just really weird. But I figured it out because I had a little brother who was born with cerebral palsy. And he was supposed to die when he was like 4, but he lived to be like 13. And when he died when I was like 16. And basically when he died, they told my stepmom that he didn't go to heaven because he was never baptized. And that shit made me look at shit like completely differently. Like, it caused my mom and my dad to break up, or my stepmom and my dad to get divorced and shit.
Whoever said that.
That's some heavy stuff, man.
But you got, like, this is their belief. Like, this is heavy. Like, just like you said, like, they all believe this shit. So even the person, just like you said, fuck that evil Clint, it's not just that person. Like, they all believe it.
It doesn't mean that it's right. It doesn't mean that it's.
No, I don't think it's right at all.
Shit like that, you know what I mean? It means that they're dickheads that have been fucking tricked by some other dickhead. No offense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
no, you're
hey,
right though. I don't agree with that shit.
Yeah, and we're not ending just yet, but we are going to go over to our Patreon and continue this conversation. So folks who want to hear the end of this conversation where we get into this story a little bit more, sign up on the one-on-one Patreon, sign up on the My Family Thinks I'm Crazy Patreon, and maybe sign up on the Chris Proser Patreon if he makes one day. Who knows?
OnlyFans.
But for everybody on YouTube, thank you for tuning in with us. We love you. There will be a new episode of Esoteric America. It's already playing right now, so go watch that or sign up on the Patreon and hear the rest of this conversation.